Welcome everyone to our I like to call it a spiritual practice because it really is. It's many spiritual practices in one. I like that more than saying it's a service, even though it's a service to our highest selves, right? Um, and I'm so glad to have David Ault streaming from Atlanta here, 3 hours ahead, and Lynn Floyd. He's home from Denver. I don't know how recently you got back from your stint being you're the stand-in MD out there in Denver. Is that what you were?
Us. Yeah, I've been home for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, yeah. So streaming to us from Reno. We have Margie, Zoom Tech. Meditation today is by Juliet. Readings are by Connie. Announcements by Linda. And closing prayer by Denise. We're so glad everyone is here. And why don't we begin with some music by Mr. Lynn Floyd. Gary, I'm going to spotlight you right
All
now.
right. Great to be back with all of you this afternoon, evening. I wouldn't be surprised if peace broke out all over. I wouldn't be surprised if I found a four-leaf clover, 'cause miracles abound. They happen all around me every day. I wouldn't be surprised if we put an end to hunger. I wouldn't be surprised if we just kept getting younger, 'cause miracles abound. They happen all around me every day. And life keeps blessing me with so much good. I wouldn't change it even if I could. Blessing me in every way. And if it all turns out okay, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised if I found out every answer. I won't be surprised when we find a cure for cancer, 'cause miracles abound. They happen all around me every day. Life keeps blessing me with so much good. I wouldn't change it even if I could. Blessing me in every way. And if it all turns out okay, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Life keeps blessing me with so much good. I wouldn't change it even if I could. Blessing me in every way. And if it all turns out okay, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And life keeps blessing me with so much good. I wouldn't change it even if I could. Blessing me in every way. And if it all turns out okay, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Thank you.
That was so wonderful, Gary. Thank you for bringing that song. Ah, I actually realized that I didn't spotlight Juliet. Let me just see if I can find you, Juliet. Oh, there you are. Yeah. But before I do, I just want to stay in this. I'm just hearing the chorus of this song. I'm just thinking about how blessed we are, how grateful I am that we have the chance to gather here exactly as we are in this sanctuary of our co-creation. So let's just give thanks for how blessed we are to be here for the purpose of spiritual expansion in community, bringing all of ourselves present right now. I'm grateful, and so it is. And Juliet, I'm going to spotlight you for our meditation.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. And thank you, Gary, for that amazing song. That was so lovely. So now's the time where we get to be still together, to connect to something deeper, richer, more eternal than what the outside world is showing us right now. So we get to go inside, we get to tune into that part of ourselves that is connected to the eternal, that is connected to our most high, our most divine self. And so, if it feels right or comfortable for you, I encourage you to just enclose your eyes in this moment. Just begin to maybe notice any sensations in your body. Anything you may be feeling, just scanning your body. And just noticing sensations. So we're beginning the process of observing without judgment, without trying to fix anything or make it different. Just simply observing what is and holding it in a space of love. And then maybe move your attention to some aspect of your breath, your breathing. Maybe noticing where your breath is sitting in your body. Do you feel it in your belly, in your back, in your chest? Just noticing where you feel your breath in your body. Does it feel deep? Does it feel shallow? Are you not sure? And just observing that without trying to change anything, without judgment, just allowing yourself to be exactly as you are. And for me, meditation is the time that I get to connect to God, to the eternal nature of my being, and to be receptive, open, and listen, to become more awake and aware. And that requires a certain amount of receptivity and willingness. Because we're all here today, we are willing, we are receptive. To know more about who we are, really, with a capital R. And so for the next few moments, we'll be in the silence together. And you can use your breath as an anchor point. That if you notice you are involved in a story or in the future or the past, at the moment we become aware of this, we lovingly guide ourselves back to either a sensation in your body or an aspect of your breath. or any touchstone or anchor that works for you. And we just do this as many times as we need to without judgment, lovingly guiding ourselves back to the truth. And so we'll just be together in silence for a few moments, just dancing with the spirit, connecting to all of who we are. Simply noticing, where is your attention? With every breath, we feel ourselves move deeper into the space of the eternal nature of our being, that which is untouched by history or future or any circumstance visible in the world. We move deeper into the invisible nature of our being with each breath. And so, as we begin to close out these few moments of stillness, of silence, connection, we take a moment to just be in gratitude for this community, for what is about to unfold, for the grace that has gone before us to bring us all here together in this moment. Knowing that the most divine unfoldment of love is about to take place even now. And so we'll close out this meditation with a full breath in together. So easily inhaling. And just very gently allowing your breath to exhale. Just taking a moment to feel the spaciousness, the connection. And as you're ready, you can allow your eyes to open and bring your vision back into this community.
Thank you, Juliet. And Connie, I'm going to spotlight you for today's readings.
Today's reading is adapted by David from the Unity Daily Word. Today, I say no to fear and inhibition and say yes to life. Like flipping a switch and flooding a room with light, the simple act of saying yes expands my life. An infinite supply of energy fills me and sustains me. I feel the power of the universe, trusting it at a deep level. I am lovingly supported on my path. I am open and receptive to the divine flow of life, love, and possibilities. I say yes to prosperity, healing, harmony, and peace. I live with assurance and positive expectancy. When doubts and fears arise, I calmly return to my center and the knowledge of my power in every situation. My sacred yes moves me confidently in the direction of my dreams. I say yes today and every day. And so it is. Please join me in our opening affirmation. There is only one power and one presence active in the universe and in my life. God in everything and everyone. The one infinite source of love, abundance, harmony, wholeness, intelligence, and joy is expressing as me.
Thanks so much, Connie. And David Ault, we give you a warm Zoom welcome. We welcome you here.
Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you for having me back again. It is genuine when I tell you that you are one of my favorite communities, most welcomed communities, and I always light up when I see David's name in my inbox because I know it's an invitation. So thank you once again. Yesterday was the beloved spiritual magnificent light Ram Dass's birthday. And Ram Dass has had a very long-standing and tender and sacred influence upon me, going all the way back even to the late 80s and early 90s when I was just beginning my exploration in New Thought, religious science. He would speak occasionally in the Los Angeles area. And so there had been this long-standing influence and remembrance of the listening to him and being in awe of his wisdom. Read all the books. And I became sort of a closeted Ram Dass student. And many decades later, about a little over 4 years ago, I meet my partner. His name is Dan, and he had been a personal student of Ram Dass. In fact, he had just planned to go to a retreat in Maui. This is after Ram Dass had had a stroke and was in a wheelchair. And they would do these annual retreats on the island that he lived on. And he was in a very critical, rough crossroads in his life. And he just anticipated going this one time. And that one time uprooted everything for him. So much so that he used every waking vacation hour, all the pennies that he had saved, and he kept going back to Maui multiple times during a year to be with Ram Dass. Ram Dass used to even allow people to book. They would be screened, but he would allow them to book personal time with him where they could come and stay at this sort of conclave where he lived in Maui, and the caretakers were there. And he just, that was his focus every single time, because everything just kept churning and cleared out and fertilized, and just in a way that he was prepared for and that he was ready to receive. And on a summer solstice night many years ago, Ram Dass gave him the name J. Ram, which he didn't often give to students, but it meant so much to him. And so when we came together and we shared our stories, we felt as though we had kind of been pushed together by this beloved man. So it's his birthday, and we have his picture in our home. We have several, and one is on the mantle, and I lit the candle and the incense and said our thanks. And one of the things about his teaching that keeps coming back to me was something that he said to my partner, J. Ram, in a private session in the last year of his life. And he said this: beware the ego masquerading as spirit. And when you hear that, at first blush, maybe a specific thing comes to mind to you. But we talk about that all the time. J. Ram gives the context, and he said that what he was telling him was for himself to become aware of his ego and the way in which those things can inflate in things like separation, superiority. You know how we are sometimes, okay, how I am sometimes when I gain a knowledge and then I think everybody needs to know it. I'm actually embarrassed to say that when Louise Hay published her first book and we were traveling with her, she gave me like a box, and I mailed her book to every single person in my family with this very beautiful note that said something like, "You need to read this." And not one person read it, obviously. So beware the ego masquerading as spirit. And when we talked about specifically what he was meaning, he was talking about the way in which that sense of separation can weave its way in, can nuance its way in, can seduce us into thinking that something is what it's not. And I thought about that again yesterday, saying my little prayers, and I'm hearing, beware the ego masquerading as spirit. And we hear the word ego a lot. And I think a simple sort of crude definition of it is separation. Anything that promotes othering, the us and them, the right and wrong, the good and bad, the holy, the unholy, is a form or an aspect of ego. And then there's another aspect of ego. And it's like when we incarnate, we sort of need this infrastructure or ego that helps secure us in a sort of a journey of identity. So we're in a family, we're learning, we are in a culture, we perhaps may be in a religion, and that infrastructure or that ego is helping us establish this identity. And oddly enough, or paradoxically enough, the very form or aspect of ego that's needed to really kind of get our footing in the human world is also the ego that can then turn and lead us down a sort of falsification of separation. And what happens when it turns is that we forget that the costume or the form or the identity that we've been given is not real. And suddenly we believe that it is real. We believe in the othering, and we become seduced by the five senses. So beware the ego, these aspects, masquerading. Masquerading, the etymology kind of goes back to Old French, and it's mask or farce. The illusion that has no substantiation of truth to it. So beware the ego creating this farce as spirit. Spirit sometimes can mean or be translated into absolute truth or authority or someone who knows better than me. So beware of that. Become aware of that. And as I thought about that a lot yesterday and personalized that, I realized how often there is this vacillation of remembering that, going, oh, yes, 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 and forgetting that. Watching those aspects of the ego kind of take over, watching that dualism promote itself. And I don't know about you, but again, in this world of noise, in this world of density and such vehement loudness and division, it's very easy to get lost or seduced in the othering. And Ram Dass was telling him to beware, be aware of this ego masquerading, convincing us that the form of the identity is real or absolute truth, because we have forgotten that what we are, and a beautiful way to phrase it is loving awareness. What you are at your core is loving awareness. It cannot be anything else. And so anything that reduces or is reductionist is a concept that we have accepted, again, through simply being human. It's just part of the game. Again, it's not failing, it's becoming aware and remembering over and over again, oh gosh, yes, I'm seduced by the form. And so we take this and we begin to go, how can I get application? How can I get beyond word salad and concept and experiment with this for myself? And as I play around with these things and begin to look at my own masquerade, it's almost like being in a masquerade ball. It's like all of us are on a dance floor and we're wearing these masks, and sometimes we're changing partners, and sometimes we're changing the particular infrastructure or geography of it. But at the same time, it's still a masquerade. It's still a masquerade. And so we look for or lean ourselves into the willingness of waking ourselves up from that. And as I look for tangibles, I think, how does one wake oneself up? Because in the masquerade, one of our biggest things in that seduction is reaction. I know I'm the only one that's reactive towards things, right? So bear with me. So one of the things that I have found is the most successful with reactivity. So you all get the picture of reactivity. Something happens, ooh, heat, lots of heat. The clenching in the stomach, that immediate thing where the fingers want to go to the keyboard and you just want to let somebody know. Or all of those kind of impulse things that are sort of a part of fight or flight, right? So one of the things to remember that you are on the masquerade ballroom floor is to stop and make an agreement that you won't type that thing or you won't say something for 24 hours. Now you're probably sitting there going, oh, well, that's easy. I can do that. Oh, yeah. Put that into practice, because what it really is, it's sort of like restraints. You're restraining yourself. You're also kind of being willing to take off the mask for just a moment And here's the beautiful part about this experiment is the heat simmers down. Things that we were not able to perceive, or our own misperceptions about what was said or the events that have occurred, begin to soften enough that there is a willingness to look at things differently. In those 24 hours, there's all kinds of things that you can play with. One of those is the Taoist principle of Wu Wei, which means do nothing. Or as one of my mentors says, do nothing extra. You ever had somebody falsely accuse you of something? And every survival technique inside of you just wants to stand up and shout to the heavens how wrong they are. If you practice the Taoist principle of Wu Wei, which is do nothing extra, it's not do nothing, but what is the extra part? That's where it's kind of delicious, right? The extra part is, boy, I'm going to really make them see. Or the extra part is worrying, well, who's going to hear this and how is it going to affect me? And you start to see the tentacles of the octopus that kind of spread out. These are all under the category of a really specific practice of stillness. Just get still. And in that stillness, consider, can I hold off for 24 hours? Can I just sit with how uncomfortable this feels? And think about the principle of Wu Wei, or I like to say Woo Wee, because it reminds me of the song Woo Wee Baby, which Gary's going to sing for our closing meditation. It is this container by which wisdom can be reintroduced, and we can be aware of the dance of the ego on the masquerade ballroom floor. And we can even begin to go, what would it be like if I did not justify? The Course in Miracles says, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. Which is this beautiful practice to look at the investment of wanting to convince. Convince what? Convince the illusion or the egoic belief of an other. And if you can just observe and go, in my defenselessness, in my 24-hour stillness, my safety lies. Miraculous things have happened within that 24-hour capsule when I remember to do it. Without fail, that heat has dissipated. Without fail, this sort of falsified importance that I gave to that thing also dissipates. And there is a clarity where I'm starting to see, well, maybe what was meant, or maybe the avenue of the information, or maybe what was missing on their end. And it's like a wave or an ocean of clarity that you and I leapfrog over and miss. And so stillness, one of the beautiful things about being aware, be aware, is be aware of the indomitable power of stillness, which in this case can be nothing more than making an agreement to not react or do anything for 24 hours. The second one, which I find to be so classic and so important, is the study of environment. You ever heard the phrase, I am a product of my environment? So what does that mean? To be a product of our physical environment, the egoic form environment, that identity and establishment of culture and all the things that go with that, the human body, the identity of David, the form of Margie, the form of Jen, the form of Gary and of Connie, those types of things. We are products of where we were raised, what we were surrounded by, because we're sponges. We cannot help but note that. And when we look through history, you can actually see these carved beliefs regarding mob mentality or environment. Do you remember when you ever heard this, when the steam locomotive was invented and they were going to do the first inaugural run? Do you know that the environment or the belief of the people was that it wasn't safe and that anybody that rode in that inaugural ride on that train, they would explode? Because there was a belief that if the human body went above a certain level of velocity, that the skin couldn't contain it and you would explode. They actually believed that. I mean, there were protests and you can just imagine the crowds just screaming, no, 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 at the ribbon cutting of the first ride of the steam locomotive. I kind of want to know who that person was that actually got on and rode it. That's the person, or that's the sort of mentality who says, what if there is something different? What if? And so there's a sort of inner propulsion within them to be a part of something. And just as quickly as that hysteria built, it was over because once again, it was proven wrong. But that's a product or an example of an environment. And you might think, oh, well, I'm not seduced like that. But I think sometimes we are without even realizing it. It's very hard when we're in it to notice or document the effect of our environment, like to list those things, right? There's a funny story that I like to tell about the little girl. And she's 9 years old, and she is living next door to a house that's under renovation. And she's very curious. And she goes outside and she's been watching the delivery and all of the engineers and the people and everybody on the construction crews. And they notice her. And at first, they sort of invite her to come and sit while they have lunch. And then they decide, let's give her a job. So they find these little small things for her to be able to do and invite her to come in. And at the end of the first week, they presented her with a paycheck for $10. And oh my God, she was so proud. She was so, so proud. She went home, she showed her mom, and her mom goes, oh, amazing. What if we go to a bank and you open up a savings account? So off they go. They go into the bank. The bank worker asks her, why are you here? Oh my God, you're so young. How did you get your first paycheck? So she tells her about working her first job for a whole week on a construction crew. And she goes, wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. And she says, will you be working again next week? And the little girl says, yes, if those assholes at Lowe's ever deliver the sheetrock. Trying to see if you're laughing or if I offended you. So that's a product. That's a funny way of looking. We're products of our environment, right? And so that kind of product, the physical product, the product of being on or having lived our whole life on the masquerade ball dance floor, it's easy to understand that who we're partnering with, what we're listening to, what we spend all of our time and interest in. There's a saying that says we are the amalgamation of the 5 people we spend the most time with. You start to see the power of environment. And the last story was that is many, many years ago when I was teaching here in Atlanta at my center. I would do this exercise sometimes where I would have people sit in dyads. And I would say, for 5 minutes, all you can talk about is what is working. Now, you would think that that would be really easy. But for many people, It was almost like they went into apoplexy because they're like, ah. All the stuff comes up that we're indoctrinated with in the environment of our upbringing, like don't brag, be modest. And so there was conflict where, is this bragging? And I said, it's just an exercise. Just speak without qualifying to the person until it's time to stop about what's working. And we would do this. And it was amazing because many of them would have to reduce themselves to saying, I have a roof over my head. I have tires on my car. I mean, they would have to get down to the bare basics because it was requiring the stretch of a muscle that had not been worked before. And when we would talk and discuss about that, I said, this is an example of what it would be like to work a muscle by being in agreement with certain people in your life, almost like maybe a mastermind group or an accountability group or something, where you make a collective decision that you're going to put this into practice as an experiment and to begin to notice how this might affect your life. To say what's working without qualifying, without all the yeah, buts. And to this day, and I kid you not, there are people who started a once a month lunch that still get together, and it's been over 10 years now. And the principal agreement at the lunch is that they can only talk about what's working. People have moved away and things of that nature, and they set up their iPhones and they come in together with them. And many of them came back and they said to me, that particular group was pivotal for, and then they would name all these really fundamental changes that changed the trajectory and the decision making and the behaving boldly in their life. They cultivated that. They were purposeful with that. And that's where, in this aspect of environment, the product of the physical world, we have some say over. Once we begin in the era of accountability and self-awareness grows, you have some say about your personal sanctuary. You have some say about all of the stimuli that is coming at you in your environment. And there's another environment, however. That to me is the environment of which we're all a product of, which is a spiritual or a pure essence environment that is inherent. You're a product of that. One way to word that is to say that I am one with. I and the Father are one. There is no other. And no matter how much I am unconscious to that, or how much or how big or forceful my resistance to that is, it cannot change because I am a product of that. That product or that cellular, innate, instinctual thing is in me. And what's beautiful about it is that essence is unrelenting in calling us home. It may not feel good, but it is the thing that keeps calling or beckoning to it. It is unrelenting because it knows that that's what we are. And so you have stillness and you have environment. And lastly, I think it is the most challenging and yet most beautiful motto. And that is to, you can finish this with me, be in the world, but not of it. How do you do that? What does that mean? So it doesn't mean that when you become aware of the ego masquerading as spirit, that you now go and hide away. It means that you take what it is that you are cultivating and you walk out. You walk out into the seeming human masquerade ball over and over again, but you are aware that that's what it is. You're not pointing, you're not you are being aware of your own ego masquerading as, oh, you're all in a masquerade. It's not that. It's about being in the world, doing the work, as the Hindus call it, the bodhisattva, alleviating the suffering of others who may never awaken from the sleep of the masquerade. It's not a judgment. It's their journey, their incarnated, meticulous journey. But for you, even by being on this Zoom call, or whoever's listening to this post YouTube posting, there's a reason for that. You know, once you look behind the curtain, or once you open Pandora's box, you can't not open it again. Once you hear of your true origin story, you can't unhear that. So being in the world but not of it means don't go back to sleep. Go do your thing. Go be the lawyer, go be the therapist, go be the dentist, go be all of the things that are beautiful opportunities to put practice into the human condition. Go and do all of those things now unburdened by worry, or the forgetfulness, or the seeming relentless madness of anxiety of what am I going to do, or what's going to happen to me? How does one begin to very gently let all of those things go and go, for my time here on earth, in this form, in this little skin suit on the masquerade, I'm going to give it all I got. And I'm not going to be attached, because I already know, I am now aware of what it is that I am called to do. So, stillness, environment, be in the world, serve without limits, and experience that by doing all of those things, there's this good old-fashioned word that we call healing that takes place within us. And I love that healing to me means taking responsibility for the role that I have played and sometimes continue to play in my own suffering. Letting everyone else off of the hook and waking up to the fact that I'm just on the masquerade floor. And now I get to do it consciously. Much love, everybody.
Wow. Thank you, David. Do you remember you are love at the heart of your being? Do you remember there is more to this life than what you're seeing? Let me remind you, you are beautiful by far. You've nothing left to prove when you remember who you are. If you ever forget, I will help you remember who you are and who you're here to be. Sometimes it's hard to make a way through the dark, but I will see for you and help you remember who you are. Do you remember there is peace in the middle of this storm? remember you have all you need inside to keep you warm. Let me remind you, you're the dust from a star. Your essence is revealed when you remember who you are. If you ever forget, I will help you remember who you are and who you're here to be. Sometimes it's hard to make a way through the dark, but I will see for you and help you remember. You are stronger than you think you are, braver than you seem. This life that lies ahead of you is like nothing you have ever seen. If you ever forget, I will help you remember who you are and who you're here to be. Sometimes it's hard to make a way through the dark, but I will see for you and help you remember. Remember who you are. Remember who you are.
Thank you, Gary Lynn Floyd. Thank you, David Ault. I was when you said don't go back to sleep, I was thinking about that Rumi poem. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you, don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. I love that, being awake. And so as we just have a moment of community prayer, David said something that we are, in essence, loving awareness. So with that loving awareness that we truly are, let's just breathe into that as the basis of prayer today. Loving awareness, loving attention. And so I ask that we give that loving awareness as we see Don wholly blessed as he continues to heal. And we bring that loving awareness to Audrey after her knee surgery. And we see her wholly blessed in every moment as she continues to heal. And we bring that loving attention to someone that's very close in Linda's circle, Stacy, for healing after her heart transplant. So we see her family wholly blessed as this healing continues. And so I'd also like us to think about Gaza, 6 months in, and troops have been withdrawn, and I just see possibilities. So I'm bringing that loving awareness, even though it may be difficult. I'm bringing that loving awareness to that place, and I'm bringing that loving awareness to anywhere where people are suffering. And I bring that loving awareness. I invite you to bring it to yourself right now. Taking a deep breath in, just knowing we are wholly blessed, and so it is. And I'm going to share my screen. We are wholly blessed with the love offerings that come in that sustain unity as we enter our 75th year. So blessing those love offerings, please say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that we are, all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. Our generous love offerings do good work in our community and beyond. and they are returned to us, multiplied abundantly. And Linda, you have some short announcements for us today. I'm going to spotlight you.
Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. Thank you, David and Gary. You always are inspired by your music and your message. And David Ault, that's for real. No AI here. We always look forward to having you come back.
Oh, and Linda, before
Yes.
you, while we're on, I'm going to see if I still have, there it is. David, feel free to chime in and say more about this, but actually, David, could you tell us really quickly about this link on your website for your upcoming classes?
Yeah, once a month, well, most of the time, once a month, there is an opportunity to cohabitate with me in learning. And April, I'm doing it on the topic of completion and all of the various aspects of that, and how sometimes just completing a small thing elicits a whole different sense of wellness and being, and alleviates all of the anxiety that we might have in our mind. So we're going to deconstruct those things that are incomplete and begin to do practical application in a 4-week class. There's one on Monday mornings and one on Tuesday nights. Those are Eastern time, so you're probably going to be more interested in the Tuesday night if you're available, and you can find all about it on that link there.
Thank you so much, David. And Linda, back to you.
Next week, our own David will be speaking, and Amy Steinberg is our guest musician. Save the date of May 18th at 7:30 p.m. for an in-person gathering at our venue in Los Gatos. Please RSVP and tell us you are coming by responding to the link in our newsletter. Daniel Nahmod will be with us for an in-person concert on June 22nd at 7 p.m. The ticket page will go up soon. Join Reverend David at our midweek gathering this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. based on journaling and sharing around 3 spiritual questions of the week. Unity is sustained by generous monthly donations like yours. To donate, just go to the donation page on our website. We are so grateful. And back to you, David.
Thanks, Linda. Let's say our closing affirmation together. The light of God surrounds us. I am that light. The love of God enfolds us. I am that love. The power of God protects us. I am that power. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Denise to say the closing prayer. And then I'm going to have Gary, Lynn, Floyd sing us out. So Denise. Where are you? I think you have to unmute yourself wherever you are. Maybe she. Okay, let's do this. Let's do it the other way. Gary, Lynn, Floyd. I'd love to hear another song. We are so blessed to have you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna spotlight you. How do I do that?
It's about loving this every time I get a chance to be with you all. So I'm gonna do a really oldie but a goodie to sing us out. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be
the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
I love you all. Thank you.
We love you, Gary. Let's just put our hands up and just offer some love to David. We're sending you love, Gary, to everyone in this room, to everyone outside of this room. Let's include them in this prayer right now, this prayer field that we're creating with our loving awareness. I'm so, so grateful for this chance to gather in this spiritual practice each week called Unity San Jose. And so it is. Be blessed.